like the walking, it sounds more like a heavy like stomp kind of thing more than a.
What was it supposed to be?
After walking in grass mounted, you said.
Fine.
Yep. And then we would push the drone further. Let's do a larger tree sound again, rising up a bit.
Like plant your feet so they're nice. Like probably.
Okay, that's gonna change it then.
Yeah, right there. And then legs, just push against it. See? There you go.
Well, there's this really beautiful moment when after you put the mud on one time yesterday,
Yep.
you're sitting with it.
Hundreds of years because they didn't stop.
Example?
So that's why the
We'll talk
conversation happened
soon.
that way. But we played with it both ways. Eh?
Anything. It's going to be a very open circle about the piece and how we felt, and I could even talk further about past this scene and where we're going forward.
Interpret what I'm hearing now that I have the now.
Ma is a magical being that shapeshifts, time travels, can be a man, a woman, two-spirited, young, old, half animal, half human, half land.
Yeah.
Ma can be anything. And so Ma has a really beautiful relationship with the land and with the trees, and it is where Ma plays, finds stories and dives into stories, and also Ma is very familiar with the landscape. So when there's something like a new sound appears, Ma hears it right away.
Is Ma your creation or a mythological figure that existed already, or is it?
Ma is that, and I created it. And it's exciting. I love Ma. I feel like I'm gonna be creating stories through Ma for a very long time.
Oh, cool.
It's a body of work that I'm creating, which is titled Stories of Ma, which are a lot of short plays. The storyline comes from the young boys who have this relationship with the land, who go out and there's this freedom, there's this stories all wrapped around them. And I think about my brother's blood and how my brother has the blood of my grandfather and my uncles, and I grew up with 8 uncles and a grandfather, and they are amazing, important role models in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to honor them. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to honor the men in my life and also the men in our community. So my grandfather, he was in World War II, and my great-grandfather was World War I. With this story, Ma travels in the moccasins, soldier boots of my grandfather. Something inside me wanted to honor that because they're my heroes. They're so important to me. I mean, my grandfather is spoken about a lot in my first story. So I'm exploring with that. It's very new to me. That's why it was really important for me to get guidance from my uncles, as well as Ron, and as well as Pizzazz and Dawson with writing this work. But I know going into this story Ma is full of so much energy, like that rattle sound you hear is Ma's heartbeat, of that adrenaline, of this just like so awake. And that's what I felt going into the story. I remember like I was laying in bed and I was just napping, and then my body was just vibrating because Ma was just like, travel, I got something to say, or I got to throw in a show, come here. And that's where the story came out, and I just traveled with it and then immediately started drawing it. I have to just go into this one piece and get to know it, instead of trying to piece them all together and make one big story.
Yeah.
And I find like I have to step back from that way of thinking or doing, and to just, okay, let's go to this place and let me learn about this place for
Cool.
a bit, you know, and that's what I've been doing with Mom. Giving myself the time to explore with story in a theater setting, the possibilities of where stories can go, working with dancers, actors, writers, stage, like all these wonderful musicians, and you know, being able to take what I say a painting and just wake it up. It was beautiful.
I like how you say that, wake it up.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, when I paint, for me, they became and still are memories of places and feelings that I never wanted to forget. You know, I didn't want them to sleep. Teachings that surfaced reminded me of who I am and also taught me who I am as a holistic way woman.
Yeah.
I've been painting for about 15 years or so, and it's a big part of who I am, and it's a big part of this process also.
Yeah.
So going into waking up a painting is breathing that work, and what does that look like when those motifs are rooted from our ancestors, are awake through movement and songs and lights, you know, in a moving environment. I created Finding Holistic Voice with waking up that process of what does this painted story look like
Yeah.
when Aria moves with it.
Yeah. So was Ma a theme or a motif in some of your paintings?
Ma is like, if I go back and look at my paintings and try to find Ma, it would be the birch of the tree, like the skin of the tree. Because Ma comes from the word medallion, which means the one who travels with sound energy. It's a magic being, right? It's able to be in multiple places at multiple times, and I gravitated to that teaching. When I write and I go and embody these landscapes and these stories, I felt that I was moving land, like I was actually in the land moving with it.
Okay.
To break down how Ma came from medallion, that word, because when I was first writing, I had it actually medallion does this, medallion does that, medallion does that. And I was just like, I started just calling the character Ma. And Ron Chonley goes, that's perfect because Ma means breath.
Oh, wow.
Ma means breath, right?
Yeah.
And you're giving breath to these stories and these teachings. And so one of the teachings that was passed down to him, passed down to me, was space between the skin of the drum and the wooden hoop. And when you hit the drum, you hear the sound.
Mm-hmm.
That's Ma. And it's like the stone of a pipe and the wooden piece, the female and the masculine, they put together as a pipe, and the smoke and that comes out of it. That's Ma. Those are the places that I sit with to discover places to travel with that character. I don't create things for, you know, needing to just instantly put something on a stage. I create things because I need to create something. I don't know where it's going, but something in my spirit needs to say something.
So in this workshop process, knowing that there's no particular deadline, was there more freedom in that?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but you know, being a creator and artist all my life, kind of get used to hitting those goals and
Yes.
and putting that
sometimes you need
pressure,
that.
right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then I got in. I was like, okay, hold up. We're not getting ready for a show.
Yeah.
We have to remind ourselves we're not getting ready for a show.
Yeah.
We're here to play.
Yeah, and you said that in this room to your artists. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna play.
We're gonna play
Yeah.
because there's so much learning that needs to happen with this story, and we need to take the time to learn from it.
Yeah.
There's something really magical with storytelling, especially when really become vulnerable into asking the greater universe of what is it that I need to know? right? What do I need to share? And all of a sudden you get this really powerful, beautiful image, and you really want to share it to the world because it's such a beautiful thing. But at the same time, I'm still learning what that beautiful thing is and what that teaching is. And that's why it's really important for my peers to be around this circle with me as I create. This is my offering. This is what I've seen. This beautiful, magical creature coming from the land that is part of us and is here to tell us something. And we're able to go and be in this very safe place to go and journey, through this character. But I don't know all the answers. We don't need to know the answers right away, but let's play with this. What I find with these stories, because I touch base on some really difficult things that have been part of our life for a very long time as Indigenous people, but I know also it would relate to non-Indigenous folks too. With Mom was born from tall tree woman, Ma traveled through day schools, which is the schools that were run by priests and nuns in our communities and on reservations. And day schools are stories that need to be told too. So Ma travels through that time. Ma also travels through traditional basket making, all these places. So for me, it's medicine work. This work is medicine work. It's like, I think about the basket and how we all have a strand in our basket in the community, right? And so many people are wondering, well, what's my strand in the basket? What is my purpose here? People really want to know what that is. I really love creating stories in this way because so many people fit in that basket, creating something like this. You have the writers, you have the actors, you have the dancers, you have the regalia makers, you have the musicians, you have the ones who hold space, the culture carriers, the language carriers, the ones who feast, who create the feast, who are cooking to create the feast to make sure we're taking care of each other, and the ones who prepare our ceremonies for us, and the medicines. And together we create something really beautiful. I know with this work I cannot do alone, that I need a community to help me with this work. These are conversations that are really important for us to have in a very sacred space for us to not only talk about difficult things, but also laugh together and dance together and sing together and do ceremony together. This has been a way of a life for us.
What is your strand in the basket?
To ignite the fire. I think about that though. I think about that. I think about, igniting that fire, keeping that fire lit, and also taking care of that fire, taking care of that circle, and welcoming people who need to be in that circle. Grow in that circle. Also being the one to sit in that circle. I think it's really important for us to be in these spaces right now. It's really important because it's, there's this really big urgency to tell our stories, and also there's so many stories that need to be told. I think it's really important to be in these spaces because it gives us the opportunity to see where this story can grow and
Absolutely.
If I go back to when the relationship started building with me and Theatre New Brunswick was the 8th Fire. And that was back in 2013 or so. I mean, now we're hitting 7 years later, right? And it progressed. There was not a pause in that time. We were always somewhat collaborating and growing that relationship, fostering, nourishing, all that stuff, right? With me, I have a great relationship with TNB. People know me here. I've been around a little bit. So what's important for me is for artists, creators to be welcomed just like I'm welcome. I know that here in New Brunswick, there's a lot of stories on this land and in our communities, and they haven't been told yet. But the work that we've been doing together here in this theater, and as well as other artists in this part of the country, Jeremy Dutcher, Zaz and Paul, you know, all these beautiful artists, musicians and stuff, they're really being seen.
Yeah.
During this time with this pandemic has given a lot of people time to develop those stories and sit with those stories. And that, I think that is really important for these stories to be given that time and that patience and to work through it and discover and develop and everything. There's going to be a lot of stories all over the place. I really believe that because I'm hearing these stories being created.
Yeah.
But every process is different, right?
Yeah.
My process is my process, and the way that I work is the way that I work. So a lot of artists are going to come into these spaces new for the first time. And they're not going to know what support they're going to need.
Yeah.
I want us to, and I hope for us to be open to helping them the best that we can to support that work.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take, like me, a team to create that work.
Yeah.
There's going to be people that are going to need spaces like this to bring the realization of those stories. But I really believe there's going to be a huge wave that's going to come after this.
Yeah.